The orbital station's alarm died mid-pulse. Captain Marcus Chen stood motionless in the diplomatic wing's corridor, his hand still hovering over his sidearm. 3 seconds ago, the Valkoran delegation had been proceeding toward the treaty chamber. Now Princess Lyria stood frozen 15 paces ahead, her chromatic skin cycling through colors he'd never seen in the cultural briefings, silver to deep crimson to something like shattered starlight. Behind her, the Valkyran Queen Mother's 4 bodyguards had weapons drawn, not aimed at him, but forming a defensive perimeter around their sovereign. The Queen herself stared at Marcus with an expression that transcended species barriers. It was recognition. Pure, absolute, impossible recognition. Tynash. The word left the Queen's throat like a prayer and an accusation combined. Marcus's earpiece crackled. Chen? Status report. The alarm. His training screamed at him to speak, to de-escalate, to follow first contact protocol. But something in the Queen's 4-eyed gaze held him paralyzed, a prey animal suddenly aware of a predator's attention. Princess Lyria spoke rapidly in their language, but her mother raised one elongated hand. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. When the Queen spoke again, it was in perfect, unaccented English. You wear his face. Her voice carried harmonics that made Marcus's bones ache. After 60 years, you stand before me wearing his exact face. The diplomatic training evaporated. Your Majesty, I don't understand. Captain Chen? A small voice from behind him. Marcus couldn't turn, but he knew that voice. Ambassador Williams's daughter, Sophie, 8 years old, always sneaking away from her handlers to explore the station. She was supposed to be in the residential sector 3 levels away. The Valkoran bodyguards shifted. The subtle mechanical whir of charging weapons filled the corridor. Sophie, go back. Marcus kept his voice level, calm, everything he'd been trained to be. Right now. But that lady is pretty. Why does she look so sad? The Queen's skin rippled, colors cascading like oil on water. She took 1 step forward, then another. Her bodyguards moved with her, a choreographed dance of protection that Marcus recognized from 1,000 tactical assessments. They were professionals. They were terrified. Child. The Queen's attention shifted to Sophie, and Marcus felt his heart rate spike. Come here. Every fiber of his being screamed to move, to put himself between the alien monarch and the little girl, but he'd seen the cultural files. Valkyran royalty didn't harm children. It was biologically repulsive to them, written into their genetic code through millennia of evolution. They protected youth of any species with the same ferocity humans reserve for their own offspring. Sophie, bless her fearless heart, walked forward. Her small hand found Marcus's squeezed once, then released as she approached the Queen. Do you know this man? The Queen asked, kneeling to Sophie's eye level with a grace that seemed to defy the station's gravity. That's Captain Chen. He showed me the observation deck last week. We watched the nebula together. Did he tell you stories? He told me about Earth. About oceans and mountains and cities that touch the sky. The Queen's hand trembled as she reached out, stopping just short of touching Sophie's face. And did he make you feel safe? Always. Something broke in the Queen's expression. Not shattered, transformed. She rose smoothly, her full height clearing 7 feet, and faced Marcus again. Tynash died on Valkora Prime in 2164. He was human like you. He saved my life and the lives of 17,000 of my people during the burning days. I was newly crowned, barely older than my daughter is now. The plague ships came, and your species had no obligation to help us. No treaties bound you. No profit motivated you. Marcus's mind raced through history files. 2164, the Valkoran Plague. Earth had sent medical vessels, volunteers, against the advice of every major power. The mission had been classified as a loss, all hands presumed dead when the ship stopped transmitting. He stayed when the others evacuated, the Queen continued. When the plague evolved, when it began affecting humans as it affected us, he stayed in the medical ward, treating the dying until the fever took him too. His final act was to inject the last dose of the prototype vaccine into my blood, while his own veins turned black. Princess Lyria's colors had stabilized to a deep, mournful blue. She stared at Marcus with new understanding. I held his hand as he died, the Queen said. I made him a promise I have kept for 60 years, that no human who came in peace would ever suffer harm from Valkora while I drew breath. That his sacrifice would bind our peoples beyond politics and treaties. Sophie tugged at the Queen's robe. Is Captain Chen's great-great-grandpa a hero? The Queen smiled, an expression both alien and achingly familiar. Yes, child. The greatest hero my people have ever known. And unless genetics has played an impossible trick, I am looking at his descendant. The resemblance is not similarity, it is mere perfect. Marcus found his voice. Chen isn't an uncommon name. There's no way to know. Your left hand, show me. He raised it slowly. On his palm, a birthmark curved like a crescent moon. Something he'd had since birth. Something he'd never thought twice about. The Queen's breath caught. Tynash had the same mark. I remember because I traced it with my own hand as he lay dying, trying to memorize every detail of the man who saved my world. The corridor lights flickered. The emergency systems were cycling back online. Soon, security teams would arrive. Diplomats would swarm. This moment, fragile and electric, would shatter into protocol and procedure. Your Majesty, Marcus said carefully, I don't know if we're related. But if we are, if Tynash Chen was my ancestor, then I'm honored beyond words. His choices are his own, but I'd be proud to carry his blood. The Queen straightened, her colors shifting to ceremonial gold. When she spoke, it was with the weight of absolute authority. Captain Marcus Chen, I invoke the debt of life. My people owe yours, a treasure beyond calculation. I had thought it could never be repaid. Now fate has delivered me the chance to honor that debt through you. Princess Lyria stepped forward for the first time since the encounter began. Mother, the treaty will be signed, the Queen interrupted, and it will include provisions that Valcora has never granted another species, full technological exchange. Access to our inner systems, a military alliance that will make Earth's enemies think twice before raising weapons. Marcus's earpiece erupted with voices. Security had breached the communication lockdown. Captain Chen, respond immediately. We have reports of a confrontation. He reactivated the channel. False alarm, control. Diplomatic conversation proceeding normally. Request privacy for the delegation. You have 10 minutes before the ambassador arrives. The Queen nodded approvingly. You have his instincts too. Tynash always knew when to follow protocol and when to trust his judgment. She turned to her daughter. Lyria, tell me what you see when you look at this man. The princess studied Marcus with intensity, her eyes analyzing him in ways human vision couldn't match. I see strength held in check, compassion tempered by duty, the same balance grandmother spoke of in her histories of the Savior. Good. The Queen placed one hand on her daughter's shoulder, the other reaching toward Marcus, but stopping short of contact, respecting human customs. Then you understand why this moment matters, why some debts transcend time itself. Sophie, still standing between them like a bridge, looked up at Marcus. Are you going to be friends now? The question, simple and innocent, cut through 60 years of history, light years of distance, and the weight of interstellar politics. Marcus met the Queen's four-eyed gaze and smiled. I think we already are. The Queen's colors shifted to warm amber, the Valkyran equivalent of a genuine smile. Tynash would have said something similar. Direct, honest, unafraid of truth. She turned to her bodyguards, speaking rapidly in her native tongue. They lowered their weapons immediately, stepping back into ceremonial positions. Come, she said to Marcus and Sophie, walk with us to the treaty chamber. I have stories to tell you about a man who may have been your grandfather's grandfather. Stories that have been kept in the royal archives, waiting for the day when his family might return to us. Marcus gestured for them to proceed. As they walked, Sophie between the towering Valcoran queen and the human captain, Princess Lyria fell into step beside him. My mother has mourned him in her way for 60 years, she said quietly. She visits his memorial every year on the anniversary of his death. She has never forgotten his sacrifice. He did what any decent person would do, Marcus replied. No, Lyria corrected gently. He did what few would dare. He gave everything for people not his own. That is why you will find Valcora's loyalty absolute. We do not forget our debts. We do not abandon our bonds. The treaty chamber doors opened ahead. Inside, diplomats from a dozen species waited, unaware that the negotiation had already been won in a corridor by the ghost of a man 60 years dead and the courage of a child who saw no difference between species, only the potential for friendship. The Queen paused at the threshold, looking back at Marcus. After the signing, there is someone you must meet. My personal physician, still alive despite the years. She worked alongside Tynash during the plague. She preserved samples of his blood for our medical archives. If you wish, we can confirm whether you carry his lineage. A connection to the past, to a hero he'd never heard of until 10 minutes ago. I'd like that, Your Majesty. Then it is settled. She swept into the chamber, her presence commanding immediate attention. Let us make history twice in one day. First, by signing a treaty that will change the balance of power in this sector. Second, by honoring a debt that has waited 6 decades to be acknowledged. As the formal proceedings began, Marcus took his position with the other honor guards. But everything had changed. The Valkoran delegation's eyes kept finding him, recognition and reverence in their gazes. Princess Lyria positioned herself where she could watch him, her colors cycling through shades that his earpiece's translation software identified as respect, curiosity, and hope. The ambassador shot him a questioning look that promised a very long debriefing later. Marcus kept his expression neutral, professional, everything a guard should be. Inside, his mind reeled with questions about a man named Ty-Nash Chen who had died on an alien world saving lives that no one had asked him to save. A hero whose face he apparently wore. A debt that would reshape humanity's future in ways no one in this room yet understood. The treaty signing took 2 hours. Documents were exchanged, holographic seals applied, ceremonial gifts presented. Throughout it all, the Queen's gaze kept returning to Marcus, as if reassuring herself that he was real, not a ghost conjured by memory and grief. When it finally concluded, when the diplomats began their congratulatory small talk, the Queen approached Marcus directly, bypassing all protocol. Captain Chen, my physician, waits in our ship. Will you come now, or do your duties prevent it? The ambassador, overhearing, stepped forward. Your Majesty, Captain Chen is scheduled for... I am invoking the dead of life, the Queen said, her voice carrying absolute authority that transcended rank or station. In my culture, this supersedes all other obligations. If Captain Chen carries the blood of Ty-Nash, he is owed answers. He is owed the truth of what his ancestor accomplished. Will you stand in the way of that? The ambassador, to his credit, recognized when to yield. Of course not, Your Majesty. Captain Chen is released from duty for the remainder of the day. Sophie, who had been watching from her mother's side, broke free and ran to Marcus. Can I come too? I want to hear more stories. The Queen's colors warmed. A child who sees past differences and seeks knowledge? You remind me of myself at your age. Yes, little one, you may come. You are part of this story now, too. And so Marcus found himself boarding a Valkoran diplomatic vessel, Sophie's hand in his, following an alien queen who believed he carried the blood of a hero in his veins. The ship's interior was designed for beings larger than humans, but the Valkorans had prepared a section with human-appropriate proportions for their diplomatic missions. The physician waited in what appeared to be a combination medical bay and shrine. Marcus recognized the human figure in the holographic display immediately. Same bone structure, same eyes, same crescent birthmark on his palm visible in the frozen image. Ty-Nash Chen, wearing the uniform of Earth's early medical corps, standing beside a younger version of the Queen, both looking exhausted but hopeful. The day before he died, the physician explained in heavily accented English, we had just successfully treated our 1,000th patient. We thought we were winning. She was ancient by any standard. Her chromatic skin faded, but her eyes sharp. She approached Marcus with an instrument that hummed with soft light. Your hand, please. The analysis, according to the displays Marcus couldn't read, took longer. The physician's colors shifted through a spectrum of emotions before settling on something that translated through his earpiece as profound satisfaction. It is confirmed, she announced. Genetic markers are unmistakable. This man is the direct descendant of Ty-Nash Chen, 4 generations removed. The bloodline is clear and unbroken. Princess Lyria caught her mother, supporting her weight as decades of grief and hope collided. When she spoke, the Queen's voice trembled. I promised him, she whispered. As he died, I promised that his sacrifice would never be forgotten. That his people would always have a home among the stars. I thought it was an empty promise, words to comfort a dying man. But here you stand, carrying his face, his blood, his legacy. Sophie squeezed Marcus's hand. See, you're related to a hero. That's so cool. Despite everything, the weight of history, the political implications, the sheer impossibility of this moment, Marcus laughed. The sound broke the tension, transforming the medical bay from a shrine to something more human, more real. Your Majesty, he said, I'm just a security captain. I'm not a hero. I'm not even particularly special. I show up for my shift, do my job, and try not to let the little things slide. If Ty-Nash was my great-great-grandfather, then I'm honored. but his choices were his own. I can't claim credit for his courage. The queen rose to her full height, her color shifting to determined gold. You do not understand. Among my people, bloodline carries obligation and honor in equal measure. You are Tynash returned to us, not in spirit but in flesh and consequence. The debt we owe him, we now owe you, and I intend to pay it in full. Mother, Princess Lyria interjected carefully, what exactly are you proposing? The queen's smile was fierce and beautiful. Tynash died alone, far from his home, among people who could barely speak his language. He sacrificed everything. His descendant will not walk the same path. Captain Marcus Chen, I am offering you and your family the protection and resources of the Valkoran crown. Citizenship, if you wish it. Access to our worlds, our technology, our knowledge. A place of honor among my court. Marcus's mind reeled. Your Majesty, I have a career, a life on Earth. Which you will keep, she interrupted. I am not asking you to abandon your people. I am asking you to bridge ours. To be what Tynash could have been if the plague had not taken him. An ambassador not of politics, but of shared blood and mutual respect. The physician stepped forward, placing a data crystal in Marcus's palm. Everything we have of Tynash. His medical logs, his personal recordings. Letters he wrote but never sent, knowing he would not survive to deliver them. He spoke of Earth often, of family he missed, of a life he left behind. You deserve to know the man whose legacy you carry. Sophie tugged at the queen's robe again. If Captain Chen is special now, does that mean I'm special too? Because we're friends? The queen knelt down, her massive frame folding with surprising grace. Child, friendship between our peoples started with Tynash and continues through you and Captain Chen. Yes, you are special. You saw past my appearance to my grief. You ask questions without fear. Never lose that courage. The diplomatic vessel's intercom chimed. Princess Lyria answered in their language, then turned to her mother. The ambassador is requesting Captain Chen's return. The station's media has gotten word of the treaty provisions. There are questions. The queen sighed, a remarkably human sound. Politics. Always politics. She faced Marcus again. You must go. But this is not farewell. The treaty includes provisions for cultural exchange programs. I am assigning my daughter as the permanent Valkyran liaison to Earth. She will work directly with you to establish protocols for ongoing cooperation. Princess Lyria's colors flickered with surprise, but she bowed in acceptance. As you command, Mother. And, the queen continued, I am commissioning a monument to Tynash Chen on Valkora Prime. His name will be added to the Wall of Saviors, the highest honor my people can bestow. You and your family are invited to the dedication ceremony in 6 months. All expenses paid, naturally. It is time your world knew what one of your own accomplished. Marcus felt the weight of the data crystal in his hand, the implications of everything happening. Your Majesty, I'll need to clear this with my superiors. While we spoke, my staff communicated with your planetary government. Earth is very interested in maintaining positive relations with Valkora, especially given the new treaty provisions. You have been granted diplomatic status and a 6-month leave of absence to serve as a cultural liaison. Your government's exact words were that they would be fools to waste this opportunity. You moved fast, Marcus observed. I have waited 60 years for this moment, the queen replied. I will not lose it to bureaucracy. She extended her hand, palm up, in a gesture Marcus recognized from the cultural files as a request for contact. He placed his hand over hers, the crescent birthmark visible between their joined hands. Tynash made this gesture the first time we met, she said softly. He offered his hand in friendship, not knowing our customs, simply responding with human kindness. It is how I knew, even then, that humans were worth saving, that his people were worth binding ourselves to forever. The queen straightened, returning to her regal bearing. Go now. Face your media, your superiors, your new reality, but remember this moment. Remember that the bridge between our worlds was built on sacrifice and is maintained through connection. You are that connection now, Marcus Chen. Carry it well. Marcus saluted, the gesture automatic and somehow appropriate.
I won't let you down, Your Majesty, or my great-great-grandfather.
You couldn't if you tried, she said. His courage is written in your genes, visible in your face, evident in how you protected the child without hesitation. You are exactly what I hoped his bloodline would produce. Go. Make us both proud. Sophie hugged the queen's leg before taking Marcus's hand again. Together they left the medical bay, Princess Lyria escorting them back to the airlock. As they walked, she spoke quietly. My mother has seemed incomplete my entire life. Like a piece of her soul lived somewhere else, unreachable. Today I saw her whole for the first time. You did that, simply by existing, by carrying the face of a man she has mourned for 6 decades. I'm sorry she suffered so long, Marcus said. Don't be, Lyria replied. Our grief shaped our entire culture's relationship with yours. Every human who has traveled to Valcora in the last 60 years has been treated as honored guests because of what Tynash did. His sacrifice created a debt, yes, but it also created love. My people love humanity because he showed us the best of what you can be. They reached the airlock. Through the transparent portal, the station's docking bay waited, and beyond that, a future Marcus had never imagined when he woke up this morning. I'll contact you soon, Lyria promised. We have much to arrange. The cultural exchange programs, the monument dedication, your new role, but also her colors warmed to something friendly, almost playful. I want to know you as a person, not just as Tynash's descendant. If we're to work together, we should be friends. I'd like that, Marcus said honestly. Sophie waved goodbye as the airlock cycled. Marcus waved back, then stepped through onto the station's familiar deck plating. The ambassador waited with the security team, his expression caught between excitement and exasperation. Captain Chen, we need to talk. The media is going insane. The Valcoran treaty provisions are unlike anything in modern diplomatic history, and apparently you're at the center of it all because of a great-great-grandfather no one knew existed. Want to explain how your family tree just changed interstellar politics? Marcus held up the data crystal. I'm still figuring it out myself, sir, but I have a feeling this will explain a lot. The debriefing took hours. Historians were summoned. Geneticists verified the Valcoran physician's findings. Diplomats pored over every word of the Queen's declarations. Through it all, Marcus sat in a conference room watching the holographic playback of Tynash Chen's final message, recorded 3 days before his death. His great-great-grandfather's voice was weak but determined. If anyone finds this, if my family ever learns what happened here, tell them I died doing what I believed was right. The Valcorans are good people facing an impossible situation. I can't walk away from that. I won't. If this virus takes me, then at least I went out trying to save lives instead of just preserving my own. That's what it means to be human at our best. That's the legacy I want to leave. Tell my family I loved them, even at the end. Tell them I hope they're proud. The recording ended. The conference room was silent. Then Sophie, who had somehow talked her way into staying, spoke up. I think he'd be proud of you too, Captain Chen. You protected me today without even thinking about it. Just like he protected people who weren't his own. That's the same thing, right? From the mouths of children, Marcus thought, comes truth that adults complicate.
Yeah, Sophie. That's exactly the same thing.
Well, this is unprecedented, but given the circumstances, I'm recommending you for immediate promotion and transfer to the diplomatic corps. Earth needs someone the Valcorans trust absolutely, and apparently, genetics just handed us the perfect candidate. With respect, sir, I'm a security captain, not a diplomat. You're also the walking embodiment of a 60-year-old promise and the key to the most advantageous alliance humanity's ever forged. You'll learn diplomacy. The Queen made it clear that she expects you at that monument dedication. That ceremony is going to have representatives from every major power in this sector. You'll be standing beside Valkyrene royalty as family. Do you understand the statement that makes? Marcus understood perfectly. Humanity, once struggling to find its place among older civilizations, suddenly had the absolute backing of one of the sector's most powerful species. All because a man he'd never met chose compassion over survival 60 years ago. I'll do whatever's needed, he said finally, but I want one condition. The ambassador raised an eyebrow. You're in no position to make demands, Captain. A request. Everything I learn about Tynash, everything the Valcorans share about what he did, I want it made public. He deserves to be remembered on Earth, too. Our history books should know his name. The ambassador smiled. Already in the works. The education minister is preparing a complete curriculum revision. By this time next year, every human child will learn about Tynash Chen and the Valkyran Plague. Your great-great-grandfather is about to become one of the most famous humans in history. Sophie pumped her fist in victory. That means I get to tell everyone I met his great-great-grandson before anyone else knew he was special. Despite the weight of responsibility settling onto his shoulders, Marcus laughed. The sound echoed in the conference room, and for a moment he could have sworn he felt something shift in the air around him. Not supernatural, not mystical, just the sense that somewhere, somehow, a man named Tynash Chen was satisfied that his sacrifice had not been in vain. The data crystal pulsed with stored information, a grandfather he'd never known, a legacy he'd never imagined. Marcus closed his hand around it, feeling its warmth, and made a silent promise to the man whose face he wore. I'll make you proud. I'll bridge our worlds the way you started to. I'll show them that your sacrifice meant something, that the best of humanity is worth the stars themselves. Outside the conference room windows, the Valkoran diplomatic vessel began its departure sequence, its hull shimmering with colors that spelled out a message in their language. Marcus's translator earpiece chimed softly, "Until we meet again, Tynash returned. The stars welcome you home." Princess Lyria's ship fell into formation beside her mother's vessel, and together they jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a station full of humans who were just beginning to understand how profoundly their future had changed. The ambassador stood, straightening his formal jacket. "Captain Chen, effective immediately, you're assigned to Special Diplomatic Operations. Your first mission is to prepare for that dedication ceremony on Valcora Prime. 6 months to become fluent in their culture, their language, their expectations. Think you can handle it?" Marcus thought about Sophie's fearless curiosity, the Queen's 60-year grief transformed to hope, Princess Lyria's genuine offer of friendship. He thought about a man dying alone on an alien world, making a choice that would echo across generations. "Yes, sir, I can handle it." "Good." The ambassador's expression softened. "For what it's worth, I think your great-great-grandfather would be proud. You kept your head under pressure today, protected a child, and apparently earned the eternal loyalty of an entire alien civilization by simply existing. That's not a bad day's work." Sophie tugged at Marcus's sleeve. "Does this mean you're going to be too busy to show me the observation deck anymore?" He knelt down to her eye level, the same way the Queen had. "Sophie, I promise you this. No matter how crazy things get, no matter how many diplomatic missions or ceremonies or responsibilities they throw at me, I'll always have time for friends." That's what Ty and Ash would have done. It's what any decent person should do. She hugged him fiercely, then ran back to her mother, already bursting with stories to tell. Marcus stood alone in the conference room after everyone filed out, holding the data crystal, staring at his reflection in the darkened windows. The face looking back was his own, but now he saw it differently. He saw the curve of the jaw that matched the holographic recordings, the eyes that carried the same determined look, the birthmark that connected him to a moment 60 years past. Somewhere in the station's diplomatic archives, historians were already compiling everything they could find about Tyanash Chen. Somewhere on Earth, his family, Marcus's family, was learning that their obscure relative had died a hero. Somewhere in the Valkoran Empire, millions of people were being told that the Savior's bloodline had been found, that the debt could finally begin to be repaid. But in this moment, in this quiet conference room, Marcus was just a man holding a piece of his past and wondering how to live up to a future he'd inherited by accident. Of genetics, the data crystal pulsed warmly in his palm. He activated it, letting the first file play. Tynash's voice filled the room. Younger now, recorded during the voyage to Valcora Prime. Personal log, Dr. Tynash Chen. "We're 3 days out from the plague zone. The team is scared, and honestly, so am I. We're walking into a situation that's already claimed thousands of lives. Our vaccines are untested against this strain. Our protective gear might not be enough. But I keep thinking about those news feeds, those images of Valkoran children dying in quarantine wards. If we don't try, who will? If humanity wants to be part of this galactic community, we need to prove that we're more than just another species looking out for ourselves. We need to show that we can be better." The recording continued, but Marcus paused it. Those words, "we need to show that we can be better," resonated through him like a bell. That was the challenge, wasn't it? Not just to remember Tynash's sacrifice, but to live up to the standard he'd set. To be better. Marcus pocketed the data crystal, squared his shoulders, and walked out of the conference room. The station's corridors buzzed with activity, humans and aliens moving through their routines, unaware that everything had shifted slightly on its axis today. A dad acknowledged. A bridge rebuilt, a future realigned. 6 months until the dedication ceremony. 6 months to learn a culture, master a language, understand the full scope of what Tyanash had done, and what it meant for humanity's place among the stars. 6 months to become worthy of the face he wore. Marcus Chen headed to his quarters, already making plans, already feeling the weight of history and the lightness of possibility in equal measure. Behind him, the Valcoran diplomatic vessel's departure trail glittered in the station's observation windows, a promise written in starlight. The recognition had been mutual. A queen seeing a ghost, a captain discovering a legacy. But the real recognition, Marcus knew, would come from proving that Tynash's bloodline still carried his courage, his compassion, his absolute conviction that being human meant being willing to sacrifice for others, even when they were strangers wearing alien faces, especially then. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the station, full of possibilities that seemed impossible just hours ago. Marcus looked out at them and smiled, feeling for the first time that he truly understood what his great-great-grandfather had seen when he chose to stay, to fight, to die among people who needed him. Not duty, not obligation. Simply the recognition that in the vast darkness of space, the light of compassion mattered more than survival, that connection transcended biology, and that the best of humanity was worth any sacrifice. Tynash had proven that 60 years ago. Now it was Marcus's turn to prove it again. One day, one choice, one moment of recognition at a time. The future waited, patient and full of promise, for the captain who wore a hero's face and carried the responsibility of making that resemblance mean something more than genetics. He was ready.